In today's video, I'm reviewing a 2000 Ford Excursion. The Excursion is a full-size, heavy-duty SUV that was produced by Ford starting for the 2000 model year and running through 2005. It remains the largest and longest SUV ever mass-produced. Now, with the introduction of the 10th generation model, the Ford F-150 in 1997, Ford decided to split up the F-150 and the F-250 and 350 models into basically two different vehicles. And so with the F-150, you get a more contemporary style, it's a little bit more mainstream, and then with the F-250 and F-350, you get a truck that has a much more heavy-duty appearance. And basically, when they introduced the Excursion, they applied that same formula to the Ford Expedition. So the Ford Expedition is based on the F-150 and again has that more conservative, contemporary look, whereas when they introduced the Excursion, it's based on the F-250 platform, has the same heavy-duty styling that you get with the F-250 and F-350 models, and then of course it's a much more capable SUV when it comes to towing capacity and payload capacity. Given that the Ford Excursion is based on the same platform as the Ford F-250 pickup, the two vehicles are virtually identical when it comes to exterior styling. Other than being a full-size SUV and not a pickup, the differences between the two models are very minute. For example, the front grille on the Excursion has this mesh structure to it instead of the horizontal bars that you'll see on the F-250 model. But the Excursion's got the same wheelbase, it's got the same width, and the same front and rear track that you'll find on the F-250. The Excursion's available in three different trim packages. They've got the base XL model, the mid-level XLT trim, and this is the top of the line Limited model. With the Limited package, you get power driver seat, rear audio controls, illuminated running boards, 16-inch alloy rims, front speed-sensitive windshield wipers, 5 power points, 10 cup holders, heated front seats, leather seats, and there's an optional rear entertainment system with DVD player. Comparing the Excursion to the Expedition model, you'll see that it's got a much more heavy-duty appearance than the Expedition. Much more bold and obviously a lot larger. Personally, I really like the heavy-duty appearance that you get with the Excursion model, and really comparing the F-150 to the 250 and 350, I like the overall style for this generation of the heavy-duty models more. A few of the things that distinguish the models, in addition to the rear tailgate, you'll see that the driver and front passenger window has this little cutout down by the mirror. Gives it a unique little cue, and it helps with visibility. The front grille is much more bold and heavy-duty looking than that Expedition model. And just in general, the overall style of the vehicle is a lot more boxy. You see those running boards, which have the lights on either side. I remember thinking when this was a new vehicle that that was a really cool feature. Looks a little dated at this point in time. And I really like the rear end of the Excursion. It's got a very unique rear hatch here with the top opening window and then the barn doors down below. Of course, with the Excursion, you also get a heavy-duty set of wheels. It's got the 8 lug nuts. With the Limited package, you also see that we get the two-tone paint scheme. Gives the vehicle a little bit more premium look. Overall, pretty attractive vehicle. One feature that I really like about premium Ford models is that they come with this little keypad on the driver's side door that you can use to access the vehicle. Really handy feature if you lock your keys inside, or if you're on a run or a hike and you don't want to carry your key with you. Looking into this Limited model of the Excursion, you'll see that it doesn't live up to today's standards in terms of overall refinement and luxury features, but it wasn't terrible for the era. Although I'd still go with the GMC Yukon XL or the Chevy Suburban if you really want a premium interior. On this model, we've got power windows, power door locks, power heated mirrors. We've also got a partial power driver seat, and we've got heated seat for the driver and front passenger. See, we've got manual headlights. On the steering wheel, we have controls for cruise control. Very simple instrument cluster. On the center dash, we've got a simple audio system with AM/FM radio, CD, and cassette player. Climate control is single zone up front, and then we have controls for the rear of the vehicle as well. See that we've got parking sensors, heated rear window, and then controls for the four-wheel drive system, which does include a 4 low and high feature. Got a little storage space here, 2 cup holders built in. Got a cigarette outlet or 12-volt outlet here and another one up above. Little hook here for garbage bag. Some storage space up on that dash as well. The Excursion's got a self-dimming rearview mirror, and right above that we've got an LCD screen with compass, temperature information, and fuel economy info. Right above that we've got those climate control settings for the rear of the vehicle again. We've got 2 buttons for vent control of the rear windows, so those will tilt out slightly with the use of the buttons. Also got a compartment for sunglasses and another compartment for garage door opener. Got armrests for the passenger and front driver. 2 more cup holders in the center console. And a nice large compartment here with CD storage, coin storage, and this little insert pulls out and you've got a much larger space down below that. Jumping into the back, you'll see the Excursion's got a very large cabin area. In the center console, we've got controls for audio, so you can plug in headphones and use the vehicle audio system. We've also got 2 cup holders there. Up above, we've got climate control settings that can be controlled from the rear of the vehicle, so you can either control those from the front or the rear. Got a nice center armrest built into this middle row seat with 2 cup holders. And then to access the third row seat, not the most functional system here. It's a 3-step process. So you flip that guy up. You can leave this headrest in, but access isn't quite as good. If you want this to sit flat, you've got to pull this out as the second step. And then this little lever here will pull that up and this will fold down. So you can access the third row without it being completely flat, but it's a little bit trickier. And then looking into that third row seat, pretty decent legroom and headroom. Got a cup holder and a built-in compartment for storage. And then coming around to the rear, as I mentioned earlier, very unique rear hatch here. So that guy can open on its own, preventing things from falling out of the cabin. I like how it's got kind of this lower section right here. It gives it a unique style, but it's also somewhat functional because you can reach in a little bit easier. This still helps to contain things back that are stored inside. And then we've got these barn doors that open up below. So a very unique setup here. You'll see that with the Excursion, plenty of storage capacity, even with all of those seats in use. You see that we've got the spare tire on its own wheel. The Excursion was available in rear-wheel drive or four-wheel drive and had 4 different engine options. The first being a 5.4 liter Triton V8 with 255 horsepower and 350 pound-feet of torque. Next is a 6.8 liter V10 with 310 horsepower and 425 pound-feet of torque. They also had a 7.3 liter V8 diesel with 250 horsepower and 525 pound-feet of torque. Those 3 engines had a 4-speed automatic transmission. And then they eventually replaced the diesel with a 6 liter V8 diesel that had a 5-speed automatic transmission with 325 horsepower and 560 pound-feet of torque. Now I've driven a lot of full-size SUVs, and given the flack that the Excursion gets for being so excessive in terms of its overall size, I expected driving this vehicle that it would feel extremely massive compared with other SUVs on the market, and I don't really get that sense driving the vehicle. I recently did a review of the Nissan Armada, I've driven the Toyota Sequoia, the Ford Expedition. All of those models feel just as big as what you get with this Excursion. And it's kind of funny that this specific vehicle earned such a reputation for being terrible for the environment, whereas some of those other SUVs seem to kind of slide by under the radar. I don't know what the difference is there, if it's just that society's kind of changed as a whole and come to accept the idea of SUVs a little bit more than they did back in 2000, or if it's just the overall styling of this vehicle gave it more of that impression. But driving the vehicle really doesn't feel all that much larger than those other SUVs on the market. Of course, I mentioned that this specific vehicle is sitting at 11.1 miles per gallon, so definitely not impressive. But if you go with one of the diesel models, the fuel economy isn't quite as hard to swallow. It's got a pretty good sound to it. Definitely gets the vehicle up to highway speed in a reasonable amount of time. It's not as quick as most of today's SUVs, but again, you've also got to remember that this is a heavy-duty SUV, and so the power is focused a little bit more towards towing than acceleration. So you've got a lot of torque, a lot of ability to pull that boat or that RV, but when it comes to pulling on the highway, it's going to take a little bit more time. Now, when it comes to overall ride quality, you've got to keep in mind that the Excursion is an F-250 disguised as a family SUV. Yes, it's got the limited package with the leather and the wood accents, but that doesn't change anything when it comes to ride quality. It drives like a heavy-duty truck, very stiff suspension. When it comes to accelerating, a lot of torque, but not a lot of horsepower, and so the vehicle isn't incredibly quick accelerating on the highway. And just in terms of the overall refinement, luxury features in the vehicle, it's very surface level. It's not really a true luxury vehicle. With the GMC Yukon XL and the Chevy Suburban, I feel like for the era, those offer a much more premium interior, much nicer overall ride quality. But I think it really comes down to what your preferences are when it comes to that experience. If you want more of a car-like ride, GM's going to be the way to go. But if you prefer more of the truck-like ride, you want something that's really big, really stiff, gives you really good visibility, you sit up really high, you've got large dimensions, the Excursion definitely trumps the GM models in that sense. So that's a review of the 2000 Ford Excursion. Not the most nimble vehicle for driving around town, and certainly not the most fuel efficient either, but it still offers some nice benefits in its overall package. For starters, I really like the exterior styling on the Excursion, especially when compared with the Expedition model. It's got a much more heavy-duty appearance to it and kind of an old school flavor. Also, if you're looking to get an SUV that's got more of a truck-like ride quality, because the Excursion's based on that F-250 platform, it's going to drive a lot more like a truck, and there's certainly people out there that prefer that to more of a car-like ride that you're going to get with a half-ton model. The other thing too is for this era, the Excursion is king of towing capacity. So if you're looking to get into a large SUV and you have towing needs and you're on a budget, today's SUVs are going to be able to match or exceed the Excursion, but for this era, it was definitely a very impressive towing capacity, and it's going to be a really good option if you're on a budget. If you have any comments or questions on the Excursion, leave them in the section below. For more car and truck reviews, subscribe to my channel. In the meantime, thanks for watching.